Wide receivers, they get a lot of attention. They look good. They're fun. They're flashy. They celebrate. But are they integral to winning? These players are bad players. A lot of them are great players. But the problem is they start to realize how great they are. But in some of the cases, these are the kinds of guys that Mark Schlereth is talking about when he calls them dependent toddlers. My bigger issue with what's going on with the 49ers, especially the 49ers, I'd argue more so than other teams, are not dependent on receivers, not specific ones. And so the evidence will tell you that through the history of the league, when a wide receiver starts to buck, and I don't know that we're there yet with Jauan, but it feels like we're flirting with it. When a wide receiver starts to buck, for any reason, the right thing to do is to move on. That's it. Now, Debo bucked. The Niners stayed for a little while, and then he bucked harder, and they moved on. That came after Brandon Ayuk bucked, and the Niners stayed. This year, Jauan starting to buck, calf injury, contract negotiation, and now screaming at Kyle on the sideline. Now, the trade deadline's coming. You've sort of put this out there. I don't know that anybody's going to want Jauan, but we're closing in, I think, on the territory of, maybe the Niners look into this because you don't need sideline shouting matches with the coach. I know you don't need that. Things are going to be hard enough for the 49ers with their man down, a stand down that's going on right now on the defensive side. They don't need this. So I put together a list.
Okay.
And this is basically recent history, relatively recent history, wide receivers who buck, what their teams have done about it,
right,
and do they regret their decision.
And before you go further, and I love your list, I glanced at it earlier, but as far as your statement of the 49ers don't need this, I do think that it is especially relevant when you look at the fact that they are the number one passing offense in football, and yet their receptions by wide receiver, they're about 40% of their passing receptions in their offense.
Yeah, it's Christian.
McCaffrey's 1. Tonjes is 2.
They use the tight end a lot.
Off the street, Kendrick Bourne is 3. Pearsall, I'm hurt, is 4. The fullback is 5. And then you get to Jauan Jennings, who is 6 with 10 catches. So I think the point of they don't need it is especially important when you think about the 49ers because
no doubt.
They love the tight end, they love the running back, and their fullback is like a tight end, and wide receiver by committee, that's okay.
Totally.
And they're 4-2.
Well, that's the point. TJ was like, hey, we're pretty. And I'm like, yes. And you are high-level picks in our fantasy leagues. And so my argument would be that wide receivers, they get a lot of attention. They look good. They're fun. They're flashy. They celebrate. But are they integral to winning? Yes, to have effective ones, but do you need the highest level of receiver, especially if that receiver is starting to buck? Let's go to the wide receivers who have bucked. And this is the last 5, maybe 10 years in the league, and many of them current. Okay, number 10 is Davante Adams. Now, this was simply about money. That's all it really was. But he wanted to leave Green Bay, and he wanted to move on and go be with his buddy in Vegas, Derek Carr. Now, what ended up happening is he made a docuseries about getting killed by Jimmy Garoppolo. He also had a dinosaur-themed party for his daughter on Netflix, then wanted to leave, went back with his buddy Aaron Rodgers. That was fun for about 7 games, and now he's a member of the Rams. And how are the Green Bay Packers doing?
Fine, Mark.
Pretty good.
Yep, 3-1-1.
Pretty good. And they've got a bunch of receivers, none of whom have big contracts.
Davante's got 26 catches in 6 games.
He's a great player.
He's a great player. He's wide receiver 2, and with Puka Nacua possibly going to miss some games, a game or more, he moves up the pecking order. But, Green Bay said, okay, off you go. They drafted a bunch of other people, and they've been just fine.
Right. Like what I'm essentially looking for here is give me the team that really regrets getting rid of the bucking wide receiver. Can we find one? Number 9, Amari Cooper. He wanted a lot of money. He got it. He left the Raiders. Yes, he put on some wonderful fantasy years at Dallas, but it was never tied directly to winning. It was short-lived, and then he went Cleveland, and then he went Buffalo, and then he showed up at Raiders camp and retired. Now, you could say, do the Raiders regret it? I mean, I don't know. Like, they replaced him with Davante Adams, and that didn't work either. Like, I don't know that would have worked, but it certainly, I don't think it would have made sense to pay him. They haven't had a quarterback in a really, really long time. Number 8, DeAndre Hopkins. He wanted out of Houston. He got out of Houston, and while he played well for a minute or two with Kyler Murray in Arizona, it immediately sort of turned into journeyman purgatory status, to where now he is on the Baltimore Ravens, and most people don't even know that, and there was a stop with the Chiefs in between.
Yep. And also Tennessee, a couple years in Tennessee,
that's right.
as I'm glancing.
Forgot.
And, I mean, quietly, he is on the cusp of the Hall of Fame, 7 catches away from 1,000, and he's got 85 touchdowns. But, yeah, he wanted something else, and he still is chasing that something else.
Number 7 is A.J. Brown. He left the Tennessee Titans and went to the Philadelphia Eagles. He does have a ring, and he has largely performed very well. However, he's also read a book. He has also denied a meeting that clearly, or a conversation that clearly happened. And we are currently in the midst, and reports are suggesting that the tension is real and that there is actual concern with the Philadelphia Eagles internally, because they can't quite figure out how to approach things offensively. Their offensive line is not playing as well this year. They've had a few people like Mekhi Becton depart the premises. Lane Johnson's been a little bit injured, and so you're not performing as well. You can't just lean on Saquon. You're throwing the ball a lot to placate the receivers. You've lost your last 2 games.
Yeah, and he's in a spot where, he went there. He had a monster year or two, 106 catches 2 years ago, and this year, 25 catches in 6 games. He's not getting the attention that he wants, yet they're 4-2, like you said, and that thing feels like it might be breaking apart from the inside out.
Number 6, Chad Ochocinco. In fact, TJ Houshmandzadeh, his counterpart with the Cincinnati Bengals. And this is where we start to get to players who aren't just asking for money. This is where players started to kind of go mentally sideways. And every single one of their teams, and in some cases multiple teams, handled this the exact same way, which was, you are uber talented, get out of here, and not really regretted it.
You look at his career arc, and he was unbelievable, dominant, Hall of Fame track, and he still might eventually get there. But you go to New England, you play 1 year, 15 catches, Mark, in 15 games, and seen. Career over.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Number 5, a name you may have forgotten, Michael Thomas, New Orleans Saints. I've never seen a player in this league go from high on fantasy football drafts to gone quicker than this man, Michael Thomas, who really started to get on social media a lot and express a lot of anger. And he was having a hard time coming out of Drew Brees' career. And Michael Thomas basically just talked his way right out of the league.
Yeah, ankle injury and 2 more years. Sure. And then, you come back and New Orleans is in transition. And he was only 30 in his last season as a pro. And then,
Crazy.
I mean, much like Chad Ochocinco, that's just it. He's been out of the league now 2 years, and I don't think he's coming back.
Number 4, Stefon Diggs. This is a really good player, but he wore out his welcome in Minnesota. He winds up in Buffalo, spars with Josh Allen, so he gets sent off to Houston to be Nico Collins' other guy, gets hurt, never makes a mark there. Now he's having a baby with Cardi B, and he did have 1 good game for the New England Patriots.
Yep.
This list is not that these players are bad players. A lot of them are great players, but the problem is when they start to realize how great they are. And in some of these cases, not all of them, some of them this is just about money or whatnot, but in some of the cases, These are the kinds of guys that Mark Schlereth is talking about when he calls them dependent toddlers, and they wear out their welcome. And I have yet to see the team that goes, you know what, I guess we should move on. And then as soon as it happens, they really regret it. Like, oh my gosh, the organization goes into a tailspin and the acquiring team, off to the Super Bowl they go. Maybe you could say that about A.J. Brown. It's literally the only possible answer on the list.
We're down to the final three.
Final three. Number 3, Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham was literally the most popular player in the league. He had a one-handed catch that every kid in America was trying to emulate in every park in America. But then he went crazy, fought a kicking net on the sideline, criticized Eli Manning, and was then sent into relative obscurity as he bounced around the league, Rams, Miami Dolphins, and other places, Cleveland Browns, as he tried to find that same swag and never found it again. Okay, number 2, and some wanted this to be number 1, but number 2 is Antonio Brown.
It has to be number 1.
I'll tell you why when we get to number 1, why Antonio is number 2. But this obviously started back in Pittsburgh when he started to buck, and he went live from the locker room on social media.
Facebook.
Mike Tomlin did not like that, and shortly as they moved through this process, Antonio Brown, who was putting up generational numbers with the Steelers, was sent to the Raiders. Somehow this thing went sideways before the season even began, and Antonio Brown then ended up with the Buccaneers. He took his shirt off in the middle of a game. He left, and now every time I see his name on social media, I'm worried it's because he's going to be going to jail. All right, number 1, and I'll tell you why, because he didn't go nearly as crazy as Antonio Brown, but he is absolutely, unequivocally the best example of what I'm talking about. Number 1 is Tyreek Hill. And the reason Tyreek is number 1 on the list is because he will go down forever as the best example of a frontline, huge name player, loved in the fantasy community, seemingly tied directly to winning. Niner fans know him well for his third down catch in the Super Bowl, and then he wanted $30 million. The Chiefs thought it laughable. The Dolphins thought it to be a great idea. The Chiefs took the offer, and since he's left, they've won 2 Super Bowls and have been to 3. So, are the Chiefs regretting the loss of the great Tyreek Hill?
Probably not, and I think that is a terrific example because if you look at Tyreek Hill in 2019, just in the playoffs, when they won the bowl, and he was a part of it, 17 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 12 yards of reception, including the big one you talked about against the Niners, and it looked like this guy was going to be generational, and he still basically is, although now this year ended with a horrific injury, another one of these guys who had a horrific, maybe career-threatening injury. But yeah, you go to Miami and you cook for a year and then things don't go great, and now he got hurt, and Kansas City, meanwhile, just kept on churning out Super Bowls.
Yep, and he started the year by talking publicly about who should be the goal line back with the Miami Dolphins, kind of took a shot at Davante, and I think is very much a part of whatever is crumbling in Miami. 2 years ago, Mike McDaniel was the bee's knees. Everyone thought he was so much fun, doing a great job. Dolphins are in the playoffs, and McDaniel is holding court at press conferences with his dry sense of humor, and everyone loved him. And now, not only is he probably about to lose his job, he and Tua are literally having a war of words in the media. Tyreek is gone for the year. He's laughing as he gets carted off the field. The whole thing has just completely lost track.